Hey, what's up guys, Thinkcard here, and in this video I want to go over playing a gank heavy jungler. Now these types of junglers usually do not have the fastest clear speed, so it's really important to make sure your moves are calculated, you path efficiently, and get successful and impactful ganks off. If the game is really slow and not much is happening, the enemy jungler will outpace you, clear the jungle faster, get more experience, more gold, and the game's gonna feel pretty bad. So make sure that you plan out your moves and make sure that they count. So first things first, once again, ward both sides of the river. You need the information on where the enemy jungler is heading early on in the game, and look at the team comps. So in the bot lane you have Ezreal Braum versus Sivir Shen. Probably not much happening in the bot lane early. Then you have Zed versus Riven mid. That's a pretty volatile matchup. Both have escapes, so it is slightly hard to gank unless one of them goes aggro. But it's a good idea to look at the lane, see if one of them is going aggro pretty constantly, and then you can be nearby. And then Jace versus Cassio top. Both of those champions die to gank super easily, so you know that you have to spend time top lane to get an advantage. So doing red raptors, looking at the minimap to see where Rek'Sai is. Rek'Sai usually likes doing red to Krugs, either to raptors or to crab. It's the fastest way for him to get level 3, and then he looks to gank. So making sure Jace is playing his lane properly. He's letting it pull so he doesn't die to a Rek'Sai gank. And I'm still looking at the minimap. So the fastest way to get level 3 on Elise when you can still gank is to do red raptors and then clear the 2 small wolves and then clear blue buff. That gives you level 3. However, I do clear the whole wolf camp because I want the respawn of the wolves to make sure I don't fall behind since I'm not getting my own Krugs. So we finally see the Rek'Sai mid. You hit tab, he has 12 CS, and peep into the river, the crab is still up. So I know he did red Krugs raptors. So I take the crab. Since it's around 3 minutes, I know the ward in the river is probably dead by now because it only lasts 90 seconds. So I know I'm unseen. And since Rek'Sai is bot side, I know this isn't a counter gank. So Cassio's overextended, go top, pretty free gank. Once he pushes his lane and Rek'Sai goes bot side, the Cassio is pretty doomed. He either has to sacrifice his lane and Jace freezes, or he tries to outplay a 1v2. So a really good thing to do in this situation is to just stick around for the TP since you know that the laner wants to unfreeze his lane. I do kind of flub and miss the cocoon, but I'm in the right spot. We get the kill, trades 1 for 1, and Jace has TP. So Cassio is going to be really far behind. Jace is going to TP back, get the full wave. Cassio has to run all the way back to lane. So top lane's in a really good spot. However, as expected, since you're playing this type of jungler, Rek'Sai has seen where I am. He has been able to go to my Krugs and take them. So the Rek'Sai feels pretty good. He's level 4. He's probably going to be level 5 really soon. He's got 2 Krugs. So I need to be able to plan out my next move ASAP. Once again, when you're playing these gank heavy junglers, it's really important to put pressure on the enemy jungler to gank and sacrifice efficiency. So check the Krugs since I have a little bit of time, confirm that they were taken, and then go to my raptors, which are spawning around 4:30. So the plan right now, I know Cassio has no flash. I want to kill that champion again. It's really important to make sure you have a lane to play around. And since we got the early lead onto the Jace, I know I can keep showing up to that lane and getting kills and gold. And so that makes Rek'Sai have to do something. Either Rek'Sai has to come to that lane and we 2v2 it, or Rek'Sai has to go bottom or mid and once again sacrifice his efficiency. So getting my respawn of my wolves, really important. If I only cleared the 2 small ones earlier, then this camp would give less experience. So keeping me kind of caught up with Rek'Sai. He's level 5 now. I'm also going to be level 5 after these wolves. And top crab is spawning. So pathing towards top is going to be really useful. Able to get that crab as well as pressure this top lane as long as I'm on this side of the map. So once again, Cassio no flash. Easy gank through lane. Repel to a minion. Easy kill. And this puts more pressure onto the Rek'Sai. As you can see, Rek'Sai's raptors are up, the top crab is up, he's starting to sacrifice efficiency to kind of help his laners, and that's what you want to do when you play champions like Xin Zhao, Elise, even Jarvan. These champions have such strong early ganks, and you don't want a champion like Rek'Sai or Graves or any farming jungler to just get away with outpacing you. So once again, it is important to be efficient when you can, and this is a respawn of Krugs, so it is kind of worth taking the time to do these Krugs and then taking my red buff. I don't want to fall too far behind the Rek'Sai. I am even levels, but Rek'Sai is going to be level 7 soon, and you don't want to get in a situation where you're 2 levels down just because you're ganking a lot. Jace is in base and Riven gets a free push mid lane. Riven level 6 is obviously really strong. That guy can kill me in my own jungle. So any single time your buffs are spawning and a laner is missing, whether it's top or mid or bot lane, you need to be really cautious around your buffs if you don't have vision. A lot of junglers will die to these types of roams because, let's face it, almost every jungler is going to their buff. Even when a laner is missing, it's a really easy kill for those laners. So you need to be really careful when your buff is spawning. Look at the map, see if anyone can be there. If they can, then you need to be careful. It's not worth it to risk your death just to check to see if he's there. So Riven ends up roaming bottom. He was around the red buff, gets the kill bottom, flashes away, and back on the red buff. Another thing to keep in mind when you're playing these types of junglers is that getting control of river is really important. You kind of want to get in a situation where the enemy jungler is kind of scared to face check into the river because you're obviously really strong at skirmishing. You're Xin Zhao, Elise, any one of those junglers, and face checking those junglers is really devastating. So if you can get control of river, it's really important just because it makes sure that you get successful ganks off that aren't seen, and you know that the enemy jungler is scared to gank as well. So the Rek'Sai ends up trying to clear some vision in the river, but since you're Elise, since you're Xin Zhao, any one of those champions, you're able to instantly blow up the Rek'Sai, and it's really hard for him to contest vision when you're playing these types of junglers if you're matching him. So once again, when you are playing any jungler and you're snowballing, you have a lead, you get your laners ahead or you get yourself ahead through pathing, you need to snowball through objectives. You can't just farm and keep doing what you're doing in ganking and just playing the game out like that because the game is kind of stalemating. Unless you're getting turrets or you're getting objectives, then the game is going to stall out and it probably delays the game by 5 to 10 minutes if you don't take these turrets. So took the dragon, now Rift Herald is spawning soon. I want to be able to take Rift Herald, get a turret, and start accelerating the game. Once again, any slow game where not much is happening, you will get outpaced. So take dragons, take Rift Heralds, get turrets, start to make sure that your laners that are snowballing get out of lane and start to push their advantage. We know that Zed vs Riven is a really volatile lane, so hugging around that area, the Riven goes aggressive, gets caught out. That's just something that happens as long as you're in the area. And turn that into a Rift Herald. Don't go back to farming. Yeah, my wolves are up. Yeah, I might be able to counter jungle, but this Rift Herald is going to be about a 600 gold value. So take the Rift Herald, use the Rift Herald to get the turret, break open the map, and you'll be in a pretty good spot. So this was just a pretty basic game in terms of looking at the champ select and deciding where do I need to go, how can I snowball this game, how can I make sure that I'm using my time effectively because the enemy jungler will outpace me. So end up using Herald mid lane, able to get almost the whole turret, and yeah, the game is pretty much over at this point. Snowball the lanes, use our advantages to take objectives, break open turrets, and now that they don't have a mid turret, it's really easy to take control of the rest of the map. Here's another game of playing Elise versus Rek'Sai. Once again, the Rek'Sai will outpace you, so you need to be proactive. Let's look at team comps. It's Jace versus Yorick in the top lane. Obviously, you can always play around a Jace and get a snowballing advantage. So that seems like the best course of action. The mid lane is Vel'Koz versus Syndra, that's still pretty volatile. And Lucian Nami versus Kaisa Karma. So all lanes can be pretty aggro, and I need to decide from the beginning what is the most effective use of my time. It seems like snowballing the Jace is the best decision here. So start bot side, we got the ward at top river, didn't get the ward in bot river, so that feels kind of bad. And once again, getting red buff, taking raptors, and staring at the minimap to see where the Rek'Sai goes. And the objective of the early game that we identified is to snowball the Jace, make sure that the Jace can play as aggro as possible, take the top turret, get Rift Herald, and snowball the game that way. So we see the Rek'Sai, we hit tab, he has 8 CS, and he's doing crab, so we know the Rek'Sai did red Krugs to top crab. In this game, I'm pinging the Jace, play really far back, however, he's still playing too aggro, gets ganked by the Rek'Sai, and so I need to sprint straight to the top lane as soon as I'm level 3 to try to help the Jace. And this is something that's going to happen. Yes, you know that the top lane is getting ganked, but he pushed the lane, he's in a bad spot, he messed up, and now you kind of have to help him. So it ends up being a really messy 2 for 2, but the Jace does get double buffs, so not too bad. And we know that Rek'Sai cleared his top camp, so the Rek'Sai is probably going to go to his bot side. So now you have some time to clear some camps, path towards the top side, make sure that your Jace is fine. Once again, you need to make sure that the lane you're playing around, your win condition for the early game is getting the support that it needs. So we identified that Rek'Sai is probably going to go to his bot side because he already cleared his Krugs and his topside camps. So his bot side camps are up, and I see that bot lane is playing pretty aggro. Lucian has no flash. So it's pretty important to give them a little bit of assistance, hover them a little bit in case the Rek'Sai is here. So it's really important to hover them, make sure they're safe. And if Rek'Sai is not here, you can still go for a dive, but you just want to make sure they can still push their advantage. So even though the goal is to snowball the Jace, as long as Rek'Sai is not top, then it's fine to shadow the Rek'Sai and keep other lanes safe as well. So see the Rek'Sai bottom, now we can path towards the top side. We know that the Rek'Sai's Raptors are up because remember, even though we have a ward on it, if we didn't, we know the Rek'Sai did red to Krugs to Crab. So we can take his Raptors, and after we take his Raptors, we can go towards the top side or back to your jungle. So the Yorick did base, so not much to do in the top lane, and Jace is basing as well. So perfectly fine to clear your camps right now, not much to do. Shadow the Rek'Sai took his Raptors, so even though he does clear faster than you, you now have a slight jungle advantage because you're able to outpath the Rek'Sai, and you're pretty much even level now, so not too bad. So this is a situation where you know that the Rek'Sai just took his top red buff, and you kind of need to take your red buff, so you need to mass ping your top laner. Okay, this is the one time where you can't really help him, and Rek'Sai can be top, so not much you can do here. Just really hope he plays safe for about a minute while you clear your camps, and then go to help him. And then after you help him, then he can play aggro again. So just saw Rek'Sai took dragon, not the best thing to see, but now you know he's bot side. You can pressure top side, help out your top laner again. Yorick seemed to base, so you can clear your buff and then go back to help him. Once again, the objective is to make sure that your win condition is working. So as long as Jace is strong, you're going to win the game. You're going to be able to get the Rift Herald and blow open the early game. So finally, you're able to sync up with the Jace, and Jace is heading to lane. You finally topside. Syndra's overextended a little bit, so you get a free kill. But remember to always disappear to the top side if you don't know where the Rek'Sai is. So we see the Rek'Sai mid, and now we know that Jace is free to take the turret. Now you can kind of cover mid lane a bit. You still want to take the Rift Herald before 14 minutes and use it. So kind of the same takeaway from the previous game. You're playing Elise, really good at diving, really good at pressuring top lane, and you can kind of turn that into a Rift Herald. Yes, there weren't that many successful ganks topside, but because you were around top lane so much in a matchup that your top laner can abuse, you know that he can play aggro, and then if he can play aggro for free, then he's going to win his matchup and take the turret. So this really only works if you know the top lane matchup is going to be really favorable if he can play super aggro. Once again, since we already took the top lane turret, use Rift Herald on another turret, we're able to get this entire turret bot lane worth a lot of gold, and breaks open the game really fast, and now everyone can start to rotate around the map, use the advantages that you got for your lanes, and start to team fight, start to split push, get free turrets, and yeah, so same thing 2 games in a row. Make sure you identify when you're playing these types of champions which lanes to snowball, which lanes will lead to the biggest advantages heading into the mid game, and then once you're in the mid game, then you can start to take over the map, play around your strong champions, and hopefully win the game.